everyone, and welcome to another edition of Leopard Chat. I'm Laura Leopard. I'm speaking to you from Los Angeles today, and we're going to be talking with Carl Reece of Reece Legal Search. Carl has been a recruiter since 1987. He's placed associates, partners, and counsels in the premier law firms and Fortune 500 companies nationally and internationally. And if you didn't know, he's also a guest columnist for the trade paper, the Los Angeles Daily Journal. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, well,
good to see you again.
Good to see you. Well, we're here to talk a little bit about the state of the market, and Carl is based in California, so we can talk about what it's like for attorneys in California who are seeking a job at this time. Work with a lot of partners, I know.
I do.
And the state of partner recruiting has been very good for partner recruiting, actually.
It is. Although I would say that with regard to partners and law firms, similar to but different from associates, the bar has been raised. But there is much more activity because, as we all know, rainmakers bring value, and in terms of the balance sheet, they are perceived as an asset as opposed to a liability. To that end, I have really been focusing on transactional partners, where as we eventually come out of this sort of very funky recessionary economy, I really do feel that the middle market is where things are happening. I've observed a lot of partners transitioning away from the big firms like the Skaddens and Lathams, where billing rates are impacting their ability to generate and grow their client base. And so they're trying to transition away from the mega firms to a more middle market firm, which will allow them more flexibility in terms of how they bill their client. Right. And in addition to that, as we're reading in the press on a regular basis, business models are changing within law firms and corporations. Corporations are expecting more flexibility on billing rates, and accordingly, law firm partners are having to give more thought to law firm platforms that will allow them to lower their billing rate and or fixed rate for services. That's a new thing. Now, that may not necessarily apply to all skill sets. If it's mergers related and it's a high stakes sort of matter or litigation, that may not apply. But it just really depends on the practice area.
Right.
It's all changing, and which keeps for an interesting, keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about one thing for a moment. When you're doing partners, the biggest thing you have to worry about is their book of business.
Yes.
So even if they're moving from a big law firm to a medium-sized law firm, the thing that really counts is that book of business they can take with them. And
with that in mind, or dovetailing on that, historical origination, because if depending on the practice area, a track record is key. So firms tend to look for individual partners with a historical track record, as I call it, of 2 years or more of success, and hopefully ramping up in terms of how much business is generated by that individual. So if she has been consistent in billing and generating and collecting $2.5 million over 2-3 years, or started out at $1.5 million, and then the next year it was $2 million, and then it was 2.5 the next. That's very attractive to. That's going to catch the eye of the potential recruiting law firm that would be interested in bringing on someone like.
Is there a magic number for a partner book right now?
I would say that it really does depend on the law firm. With regional firms, I'm seeing 1.25, a real solid $1 million to 1.25, with like sort of a 2-year minimal proven track record. With mid-size middle market firms, as I call them, I would say it's at least $2 million. Ideally, they want 2.25 to 2.5, and then when you're getting into the major leagues, they want 4 to 5 million, and with specific practice areas, because having a $5 million book and saying I want to go to a Gibson, Dunn, or Skadden, it's not going to really get them very excited unless it's a practice area that they really are weakened, and they're looking to ramp up and add more strength with a partner.
Wow.
So it's all
a $5 million book of business won't get them excited unless it's a perfect fit.
It's cultural, it's economics. With a lot of firms, it just depends on the business model. So it really varies. It depends on if the firm is regional, if it's a West Coast firm, if it's local, if it's a smaller firm, or if it's a national global firm. All these variables determine what might make you as a partner looking to make a move with $4 million or $5 million attractive to one versus the other.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's as I said, the market's fluid, and the good news is we are seeing the economy ramping up in terms of the impact that the economy has had in the past on law firms. It's changing. Things are picking up. As you mentioned, we're seeing momentum at the associate levels, although not as though it was the case in the roaring. We're not seeing a rush as in 2005, 2006, and 2007,
Right.
but there are opportunities. At the partner level, we're seeing movement, and firms are very much interested in cherry picking great talent from the big firms for mid-market firms.
Right. Because they can.
Because they can.
Well, Carl, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
so much. And if anyone has a question for Carl, you can go to their website at Reece Legal Search and send him an email. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for joining us today on Leopard Chat.